Hi, everybody. My name's Eric. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi.
It's great to be here. Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm always happy to be of service in AA. Um, I want to, my sobriety date is November 15th, 2012. Back in November, I celebrated 13 years in recovery, and I'm very, very proud of that. It wasn't easy getting sober. It certainly is a lot more easy staying sober than it was getting sober. So I'm really grateful to have some time behind me. Um, Seems like thinking about a drink just really isn't a part of my life, and that's very different than how it used to be. Speaking of how it used to be, I want to welcome all the new people who identified as having less than 30 days. There's quite a few of you in the room today. I want to say welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just a member. I am a Tradition 3, which is that the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and that's what I have today. I do not want to start drinking again. I tried for years and years to stop drinking alcohol, and my alcohol also included a lot of drug use. And, I pretty much could go to every A that exists, okay, because I have issues with food, sex, money, work, people, and places, things. I could really get upset at just about anything, and I can screw up really good things very easily. I know how to drive things straight into the ground and very deeply as well. And so I'm very happy to be here. And if you don't hear anything that you relate to from me today, for whatever reason that is, there's 189 meetings in person in this area within 15 miles of here a week. And there's an additional 80 meetings online a week that take place in this area. So please keep coming back, get a sponsor and work the steps. I'll talk a little bit about what life was like for me before I got sober, but I don't know, maybe not. I, for the newcomers, I really hope you feel like shit. I really do. I hope you're hurting because when I got here, I was in a lot of pain. And I really think that how bad my life was and how hard things were for me is what saved my life. I never thought that those horrible things that were going on at the end of my drinking, the despair, the every day saying I'm not going to drink, and then every day getting wasted, and every day trying to control my drinking, going from no brown liquor, only clear liquor, no clear liquor, only wine, no reds, because the tannins, that's what really gets me. So I'm going to go with only Pinot Grigio, and then, I can't do any wines now, so I'm just going to do beers. I'm going to be bro it out and do beers. When I was drinking only beers, I'm not going to talk about my drinking, but here we go. So when I was drinking beers, my beer was a Hefeweizen, and I would put a shot of Absolute Mandarin in it because it didn't taste very good. And so that was my beer at my local bar. That was like how I'm just gonna have a chill night, so I'm gonna have a shot of vodka in my beer. It was great, and it went so good that let's see, I was when I got sober, I had a bunch of arrest bench warrants. I had like 16 unpaid parking tickets. I had 10 years of unpaid taxes. I hated going to the mailbox at my apartment. I hated it. I only looked for like handwritten mail, like if it was like a card for your birthday or something, like somebody felt bad for your life and sent you like $20 or something. That's all I looked for. Everything else got torn in half and thrown in the trash that was right next to the big wall of mailboxes. And that included anything having to do with taxes. So actually, up until just I don't know, I'm sober 13 years, but it was like 10 years ago that I finally stopped having my wages garnished. I spent my entire adult working life having my wages garnished because I stole some money from a bank and a really shady deal when I was like 19. So yeah, I told you I'm a little bit messed up. So drinking got so bad, I lived in the Tenderloin, and it was so scary. And I feel like I don't know, seeing the Tenderloin these days, a lot of people don't know what the Tenderloin is in San Francisco who aren't from here. I travel for work now, so I spend my time in meetings that aren't based in Northern California or California at all. And when I talk about the Tenderloin, they don't really know. And it's like tough to describe that. Like today, it looks like World War III like ended. You know, it's like apocalyptic out there right now. People are just like rotting on the street with needles in their arms and legs, and people can't get into their buildings. And there's like police presence, and it's a horrible, horrible life. And I feel so lucky to have escaped that. Uh, Alcoholics Anonymous really did save my life. That was my path. Like, sure, I was like a really fun gay bartender. I was like the life of the party, and come see me at my fancy restaurant during the day in San Francisco, and then come party down with me at night, and then catch me at this after party, and then catch me on Monday like hung over and green and just wiped out and just disgusting, saying I'm never going to do this again, and then catch me Tuesday morning on Taco Tuesday for margaritas. It's like I just couldn't ever do anything about it. A good friend of mine here in AA, he's a retired police officer, and he was based in the Tenderloin in San Francisco for many years, and he always said when I first got sober that he recognized me, and I was always, oh shit, you know what I mean? But he said that he always says he's so proud of me, that I'm a miracle, because he said in his many years of being on the force, there's only 3 ways that people get out of a tenderloin, and that's if they get sober, if they die, or if they go to jail. So those were my choices that I had, and so I'm so grateful to be sober. Step 1, there's so many new people here. Admitted I was powerless over alcohol and that my life had become unmanageable. I refused to believe that my life was unmanageable. I lived with my aunt out in Antioch because San Francisco was too scary for me. So I didn't have a job. I lied to unemployment about having mental health issues so I could get a little EBT card with some money so I could buy cigarettes and coffee. And I would drink from her liquor cabinet every day, and I just stayed cooped up in the house all day long, and I hated sunshine. But my life was not unmanageable. That was fine. I was doing great. My apartment in the Tenderloin, just a short time before being out in Antioch, the door frame on the door was gone because I had so many shady people in my apartment in the Tenderloin that it got really, really scary, and I never knew who I was coming home to. I've been beaten up and mugged so many times, I can't even tell you. It's at least 10, maybe not 20. I have a victim of sexual assault multiple times, kind of like, when you owe really bad people money, or you do really shady things to them and the other people who are out there on the streets of the Tenderloin, you have to pay the consequences. And I did that many times. And I just thought it was part of the deal. And to be honest, it was kind of really bad out there. So I was kind of excited to get it over and done with, because then I would be back to square one and I could get what I needed to do some more after it was done. And it was messed up. But my life was not unmanageable. That was fine. So I can't do step 1. I'm not an alcoholic. I have a drug problem. I have a sex problem, and I have a problem with the people at my job, but I don't have a problem with alcohol, and my life is fine. Okay. And then, got a sponsor, and I started like talking about how things were. And I realized that alcohol was in all the worst moments of my life, and that my life was totally unmanageable. What kind of life was that? What was that? I remember showing up at that bar shift, and some lady was like, "Oh, you got a little mark." And I went into the bathroom, and I was like, "Oh," and I got that shit beat out of me before I went to work, and it started to bruise, but just barely. So I had to use this girl at work's makeup to put like foundation. Not that guys using makeup is wrong, but I wasn't into that at that point. And so I had to put her foundation on the side of my face, and throughout the night, I had to go further down. I had to touch it up because it was starting to get pretty bad. But my life was not unmanageable. And so once I figured out this was pretty rough, I moved to step 2, which is came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And I was like, I'm not insane. This is normal. This is normal. This is a happy life of a gay bartender. We party, we get a little crazy, but it's just part of the deal. You know what I mean? It's like, I hung out with people who every day we talked about being alcoholics, but we weren't quitters. Yeah, F those guys. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're going for it. We like alcoholism was like a badge of honor. Welcome to the family. Welcome to being gay. You're an alcoholic right away. You know what I mean? The only place we have is bars. So welcome. Get wasted or get out. You know what I mean? Go have some babies, get married, do that whole thing, knock somebody up. You'll love it. I did some of that too. Maybe it'll come out later. I don't know. Come out. So I did not believe in anything having to do with God at all when I got here. I was like, y'all are tripping. Y'all are psychos. Welcome to the cult. I'm not going to be here long. I just need to be here because I have nothing else going on in my life, a power greater than myself. It was like, when I look back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, Eric, you really thought you were so powerful with all that stuff going on. Like you couldn't even leave the house. You lived in Antioch and you couldn't go outside because you were afraid you were going to be like run into somebody who had some stuff and get all messed up, or you're going to get beat up. It's like, well, I'm so powerful. Power greater than myself was a difficult thing to manage when I was new. So coming to believe, there's like these four God moments in my life, right? Like the first one is when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and we were going to like a Catholic school with like the nuns and like the one father with the white thing around his neck. And forgive me if I don't do all the hyperbole or whatever. It's just like straight people drag, and it's just all the same thing to me. And so I was going to one of those schools where they slap you with the ruler and no bad to everything you do. And so the father, he like pulled down my pants in front of the school and spanked me with a ping pong paddle in front of everyone. And I was mortified. And my parents, pulled me right out of that school. I mean, we're not going to that school. That's crazy. I did push a little girl off a swing. So that's why I got spanked. But that's beside the point. You know what I mean? So the other is like all gay kids. I joined the Sunday school choir. And so that's where we audition to find out who we are. In Sunday school, we sing with everybody, and that's kind of how we get our place in life. And so I did that. And then that church found my garbage pail kid cards, and they put them up in front of the church and told everyone that me and my sister at the time were playing with the devil's toys. And so we ran out of that church. We lived really close to the church, so we ran the few blocks home all the way. And we're like, Mom, Dad, they kicked us out. They said we're worshiping the devil. And when that pastor and the nun got to my house, my mom was outside. My mom was raised by a cop, and she smoked cigarettes. And she was outside with her lit cigarette, and she used all the bad words, all of them, to that person. Those people, and they got in that car and they left, and we never went to church again, honey. That was it for that. And then my mom, I grew up in like the Kool-Aid family. It was mama's boy, daddy's girl. So I had a sister, it was the four of us. My parents grew up in very alcoholic and abusive homes, so they didn't want to drink. So they just smoked weed every day. It was the best they could do. So we had like a super loving home. It was like all love, no discipline. And we're going to move every year because the parents can't get their shit together, that kind of home. And so it was like so sad. We really did move. A couple of years, we moved like 3 different times. I actually never graduated from like a middle school or junior high, because we'd go to a school that was graduating in 5th grade, and then we'd go to one that was 6th grade, and we would leave middle of the year. So I never graduated 5th, 6th, or 8th grade. I just kind of like did all the things except for graduating. But the good thing is now I can talk to everybody because I'm used to being so fake and making fast friends. So like I'm always comfortable everywhere I go, and it's really kind of weird and awkward sometimes, like now. But back to God. The other option was like my mom was my best friend, and when I was away at college, living with my fiance, who was female at the time, you skip over that and just get to the God stuff. I was doing what we're supposed to do, okay? And she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it wasn't going to be very long till she lived. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we moved back to the area where I live with my family, and we like watched my mom accept God into her life before she died. And it was like a really difficult, really gross process of like having a minister come over, and like we knew we were accepting God in our lives because she was about to die. So it wasn't like the best circumstances to come to believe in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, you know what I mean? And then a couple days after we accepted God in our lives, and we're all crying because mom's going to die, she died. And then like the next day I was like, what would I want to do with a God that did that? Why would I ever do that? Why would I ever want anything to do with what just happened again? So drop that. And then the other of the four God moments in my life before I got sober was living in San Francisco, a block away from City Hall, and being part of all the Prop 8 protests, or like fighting for the right to be able to get married. What a dumb thing to have to fight for a right for. But anyways, we did it. We went down every day with our little signs that said, God loves us all, and love is love, and please don't kill us, and all that kind of stuff, you know? And they spit on us and they called us faggots, and we did the best we could. And we tried to block the people who were part of the court case as they walked up the steps and walked down the steps for lunch and then back up and at the end of the day again. And all the people who were throwing things and spitting and yelling and calling horrible names, they all had crosses and signs and pictures of Jesus Christ and everything. So I got here. I wanted nothing to do with your God. Higher power, give me a break. We're not doing that. Step 3, making a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood. And I still don't understand. And that's a good thing, because this says understood. It's in the past tense. I don't know. I know that there is one. And I don't even know if it's one. I know that it's not me. What kind of God was that in the Tenderloin? If I'm in charge, that's what happens when I'm in charge. This is what was happening in the Tenderloin. So I'm certainly glad that I was able to make a decision to move on. And my sponsor was so sensitive about that part. Every week I showed up and I was like, not sure. And he's like, okay, we'll do some more work about it. Go to meetings and talk about having difficulty with coming to believe in a higher power, and bring it up in meetings. Start talking about it. Really get out there and like try to listen for the solution. You know, he was trying to say in a nice way, shut your mouth and try to listen for a second. And I did that. And I slowly started to hear things like, if you having trouble believing in God, why don't you try and go down and stop the waves? And I didn't have any concept of how waves worked, and like, I think it's like lunar, or like the moon pushes up the water, and the sand keeps it from killing all of us, whatever. So I didn't understand that. And so I was like, oh, well, that's something that I don't understand. And so it started being something like, okay, well, that's kind of God. And I always thought the idea of like making up your own higher power, making up God, was stupid. It was always like, oh, we're going to make up our own higher power. Great. What a fun idea. We're going to do arts and crafts. Are we going to build a little model? You know? I hated it. I hated it so much. I was like, this is dumb. People were like, my higher power is a tree. What happens when it catches fire, girl? You know, my higher power is a doorknob. What if the door gets broken down? You ain't never been to the Tenderloin, obviously. No, it was too difficult. So after several weeks of showing up and being like, nah, we're not doing the higher power thing, he said, do you believe that? And I knew his story. His story was kind of crazy. He's a crazy gay from San Francisco. Do you believe that I got sober, that I have a higher power, that I believe in a higher power? And I was like, yeah, it's time for you, but not for me. And he's like, so you believe that I believe? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's good enough. We're going to move on. And we moved on to the 4th step. And the 4th step was really disgusting, and I was very confused. And the whole writing on piece of paper, I'm like, isn't this the digital world? Why are we writing? Do I have to buy a notebook? I don't even have a job, okay? And cigarettes are expensive. So when I get $40 a week, that's literally like for like half a carton. That's what I need, you know, to get by. And so I started writing down, and I really struggled with, what do I write? I hate everyone. Do I write everyone? You write everyone. Yes, Eric. So I started at 1st grade, and I just started naming the people that I hated in 1st grade. Teresa Lovelace, Eric Fotheringham. I mean, I remember, okay? I remember Mrs. Wyatt. I remember Mr. Berkeley. I remember everything, and I hated all of them. And on that day, I wrote, I hear the laughing, and I'm not lying. It was like a long list. And it was like a whole notebook for my 4th step. I was like, I'm going to show him how good I am at class. You know, I'm going to turn in my paper. I'm going to get an A in AA, you know? And I hated everything. He's like, now, before we get to working on it, if there's anything you need to add, like any systems and structures and ideals and phrases in AA. And I was like, oh yeah. So just Googled them and wrote them all down. Let it go. F that. I hate that because, you know, live and let live. Let them live. They all don't deserve to live. We can't all live. It was a mess. It was a mess. So, but I did it. Don't get me started on the sex inventory either. I'm gay. We have a different class than heteros. I'm sorry. It's like a whole thing. I had to keep in like high school and college. I had to keep up with the heteros and I had to keep up with the gays. So I'm already doubling up in high school and college. You know what I mean? So let's not get into numbers and how many pages that was, but that was a whole separate inventory. And if you didn't have all that, good for you. I'm so happy for you. I told somebody just before this meeting that I kind of lived at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic in San Francisco. And I was actually a few times where I would go because like nothing happened to me that week, like nothing flared up and I didn't need any medication for it. This is an outside issue, but so I would show up and I'd be like, can you just run the numbers? Because I don't want to do anything crazy this week and not have known it was here, you know? And they would be like, wow. So I would just go and they would just pull the blood work while I was in line and I would just go to work, you know? It's like real quick, like drive through STD clinic, you know? So, kind of like just a total mess. And I told all of that stuff to somebody, and I told that to what my God was at the time. My God turned into the ocean, and then it turned into the people in the meetings. And then doing my fifth step with somebody and saying all that out loud, I mean, choking on my own tears. I had a horrible, horrible life, and I didn't know. The next morning after my fifth step and talking to God about every single one of those things that I wrote down, that was not 1 hour. That was a few hours of doing that and giving that up to God. The next morning I woke up and I giggled. I felt different. The light was different in my room and where I was. I remember waking up that morning. It's been 13 years and I remember it was a powerful release. Step 6 and 7, those aren't really big deal steps. I don't really have any defects. I am like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. And it's hardly mentioned in the big book. You know what I mean? It's just like a little couple of paragraphs. So you don't have to worry about that too much. If you're new, don't worry about any of these steps. You just need to worry about step 1 and going to meetings. But then for everybody else, step 6 and 7, I didn't really know what defects of character was. So I Googled it and I just wrote them all down because I was like, yeah, oh, yep, oh, yep, lying, aggressive, manipulation, stealing, disassociation, some really bad stuff. I wrote them all down because I had a story to go with all of them. I showed up and my sponsor was like, never Google anything in the suburb again. And he's like, definitely don't Google in this next part, which is writing down your assets. And I was left to my own devices to figure out what assets I even had at this point because I was so broken and beaten down. And I had to really sit with myself. And he's like, well, why don't you talk to some of the people you're getting to know in AA? Because, at this point, got 7 or 8 months because I spent 2 months on step 3. 3 months on step 3. And so I started asking people, and I started talking to my family and seeing what might be good at. And the first thing I wrote down was brave because of what I had been through and what I had survived. I had survived all those times, all those horrible, horrible situations. I'm here still. That's brave. That takes a lot of courage. And so right then I started to know that I was strong. And it was the first time in my life that I felt strong. As a gay man, we're not really told that we're strong. We're weak. We're sissies. The bar's always moving for us. Why do you act like a girl? You seem like a girl, And then if you start acting butch, it's like, oh, don't try to act like butch. You're such a girl, And then if you start acting like a girl, like wearing nail polish or acting super feminine, then they're like, why don't you be a man? You need to really pull your boots up, You got to step it up, bro. It's like the bar's always moving. We can't do anything. And thank God for AA because now I know I don't have to do anything for that. What people think of me is none of my business. My business is to stay kind, loving, compassionate, to not drink, to take care of people, to be helpful in my community and at home. So that's what happened with step 6 and 7. Not a big deal, really big deal. And it's taken me my entire recovery to even understand what step 6 and 7 are. And I'm still beginning to understand. Step 8, made a list of amends. I really couldn't do it because I was done really a lot of bad things. And I was like, I'm not going to write these people's names down. And I'm never, ever, ever talking to these people again. And I was really excited to know that I became willing to make amends to them all, except when to do so would injure them or others, and that I was others. So some of those horrible, horrible nights I didn't have to live over again, that it was a life amends, that I wasn't going to drink or do drugs anymore because I wasn't going to put myself in those situations that led me and others to get hurt anymore. And so that was a living amends. And I didn't have to go back to all those scary people. And that was great for me. Many people did not want to hear from me or speak to me. And so I have to kind of just go with my gut. And I made donations to places that help people that they were like, or help people like me. And my financial amends became making donations to places for children and things, and just kind of being a good person and thinking of others before myself. And I didn't make a lot of money then, so it was a lot to make a donation anywhere. Continue to take personal inventory. I remember I printed out this like 40 sheets of paper in a notebook of like step 10 from online, and I made a notebook so every night I had my little form to fill out, so I didn't have to like write in some stupid journal. It was like really nice looking, you know. And I showed it to my sponsor. I was like, I told you, no more Google, you know what I mean? And it's like, but it was really easy to like turn over, and everything was there, and I just wrote down how crappy of a person I was every day. And I didn't realize that the inventory is supposed to be the good things and the bad things. And I started looking at some of the good things I was doing, the very negative self-mind. I had a very negative life. I had a very negative upbringing with all the bullying and everything. It's not easy to be gay in this world. And it's still not easy to be gay in this world. In fact, it's changing a little bit to where it's getting a little bit scary out there. And I know it's like an outside issue or whatever. My whole life is an outside issue. Like I'm a walking protest. Like just being who I am is offensive to people, which is absolutely crazy. So it's like really difficult right now to be sober in AA. And like, God bless all the little gay kids like me who are coming into meetings that are full of people that don't look like them. I did it and I got sober, and it was so hard. And I can't imagine the guys of what it's like right now to get sober. So I hope maybe you consider that the next time you see a little sissy walking into a meeting, you maybe say hello. In step 11, I went to every kind of church that was in my area. I went to San Francisco. And I went to Berkeley. I went to like the San Mateo area. And so I went to like the Filipino, Hawaiian, all types church. I went to watch at the Buddhist temple in Berkeley. I went to watch the monks chant because you know I hated God. So my sponsor's like, we're going to see all the gods that you hated. We're going to meet them all, you know? You're going to hang out with them and tell me if you really hate them afterwards. Many were like, yeah, sure did. I went to one actually out here. I'm not going to name it, but afterwards I tell you. And the guy up there was like a prophetizer type thing, and it was like so scary, like TV. And he was like, and the homosexuals. And I was there with like two other gay guys out here getting sober. We're all like new and shaky, and like, we're so happy to be in a church. It's so exciting. And they were like, the homosexuals. And we were like, oh my God. And like 18 people in the church were like, because you know, we were in the back. Never went there again. But we did light a little candle and we prayed for those people at that church before we left. We lit one of those candles and we're like, we're going to pray for these guys. Thank you, but no thank you. And we did give them $1. And then we ran to our AA meeting. So I did all those. I fed the homeless. I went to Glide in San Francisco and I watched a gospel choir perform, and I watched them talk to all people from all walks of life in that church. And then we fed the homeless after the church service. And I really started to see there was a whole world out there that I had no idea about, like thinking about others and the hurt that was going on. I had no idea. My little world that I lived in the Tenderloin, and I would circle those blocks like trying to get drugs, trying to get the next fix, trying to find somebody to bring up to my apartment so we could try to burn down the whole world, you know? And I would just walk and walk and walk, and I just never knew how many people were out there hurting, how many people were just on the verge of death the way that I was. And I never thought I was until I got sober. Never thought I was even close to that. So step 11, came to believe, honey. I came to believe. There was no denying that a God had been there. Sure, all that horrible stuff happened, but here I was. I was still here. That's the thing. I never knew that in the promises they talk about, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And that's me. I have a horrible past, and maybe some of you don't, especially newcomers. If this is not your story, just go to the next meeting, okay? It's like, it's fine. And not even if you're new, if this is not your story, great. I hopefully have a lot of yets for you. Things you didn't do yet. The Tenderloin's right there. You want to pick up a drink again? You want to try it out for a little bit? Maybe make it a while, but eventually you're going to end up in the Tenderloin. You're going to go as far as I did. I don't think it's worth it. Let me stand here and tell you how it got so that you don't have to do it if it's a yet for you. And that's how I carry the message. Every time I step into a meeting, I'm carrying the message of AA. I'm saying that I'm an alcoholic and I can't do this alone. I need my meetings. I've been sober a long time. Well, 13 years is a long time. My sponsor says it's a good start. Whatever. He's a jerk. Don't listen to him. And so I've been sober a long time, and every time I go to a meeting, I'm working the 12 step. Every time I say that I'm sober, I'm working the 12 step. Every time I open the door for somebody at a grocery store or whatever, I'm working the 12 step. The final thing I'll talk about is like my service is very weird. So I was homeless when I got here, and now I'm a flight attendant for a major domestic airline, and I travel all over and I get to go to meetings all over. It's like epic life. Okay. I mean, really crazy transition, right? No job, no taxes, bench warrants, no security, all security clearance at all the airports. Okay, like they don't check my bags, and so it's like you don't know who you just let through, honey. No, we're good. We're good, and there's definitely no weapons. I don't like that shit. And so, but they don't check me. They trust me. And I trust myself, and I earned this role. But getting to travel around and go to meetings and meet people from all over, and getting to carry the message of what it's like to be a sober flight attendant in an industry that is built around going to bars and drinking. We live in hotels. There's a bar in every hotel. There, even the Holiday Inn's got a bar. Okay, and so we get a big discount. 3-2-1 is what I call it. They call it the 1-2-3. It's $1 beers, $2 alcohol, or $2 wine, and then $3 any call alcohol. And yeah, that's current day prices. So they can get a $20 glass of wine for $2 on an overnight working at my job. So you know it's messy at work. Messy. Nobody got to clean up after you. Somebody, the maids clean the rooms. You have to go clean. You come to a clean home and somebody cleans up after you. You can have a lot of secrets in my job, and they do. And working with flight attendants who are just on the verge of alcoholic collapse is something that has really changed and molded my life. And being able to carry the message of AA while I'm working is so incredible, to be able to talk about being sober. And we have a program at work. All airlines do. It's this federal program. And it's an epic, epic opportunity. The other great opportunity that I've had, I feel like my time is over, but I'm just, yeah, life is happy. Great. Good for you guys. And the other big thing that is about my life is like, thank you, is when I got sober, I didn't want to get sober. What happened is my sister got pregnant, and we were always really close. I told you, mama's boy, daddy's girl, and mama died. We're gonna have a big family, and she got pregnant. And I was like, what am I doing? What is she gonna do? Visit me at the bars I'm at? I never thought anything about my life. And I did get sober when she was a little bit after her 1 year birthday. So she's 14, I'm 13. And a little bit after I got sober, we moved in together. And so I'm raising a child. I've raised a child. She's a young woman now. And my life is so incredible. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought, living the life that I did, that I would live such a, one, heteronormative life, but two, that a person would be entrusted to me, that I would raise a child. And not only that, but I'd raise a child with an idea of the concepts and the principles and the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. We talk about things in a way that my parents never talked about. I apologize to her more than any adult I've ever apologized to. My parents never apologized to me for anything they did. And we have conversations that are incredible. Her father, her biological father, is one of us, but not sober. And her life with him was horrible. And working through that, the steps carried us through. And my sister works in a different program. So we just have a home of recovery. And this little girl is epic, incredible, mind-blowing. She's so far ahead of her game. And now she's helping her friends in high school as their parents become alcoholics. She's helping her friends as they pick up vaping, as they pick up the idea of drinking so young. She's the one that they come to. She's the one that says, you guys don't know how this could turn out for you. We're too young. We're too young. I hear her on the phone. No, we're too young to drink. We need to wait till we're 25 because our brains aren't fully developed. I didn't tell her to say that, y'all. So she's carrying the message. So somehow I went from being just on the verge of death every day to living this full, incredible life. And the only thing that changed is I joined Alcoholics Anonymous. That's it. And the world right now is a little scary, but there is a God, and it is none of my business what is happening in the world. What matters is what's happening at home. What matters is what I am doing. That's the only thing I can control. And what an epic thing to be in control of is my decision making. I wasn't in control in the Tenderloin. And that was so scary all the time. I do not wish what happened to me there on anyone. What happens to me now, it's really my own damn fault, to be honest. When I'm having a bad day, it's like this old timer when I was newly sober. I was out there chain smoking and crying. That was my big thing for my first year. Chain smoking and crying, honey. I remember when I got my 9-month chip or whatever, some guy came and he's like, I'm just so happy to see that you're not crying in every meeting now. It's like, yeah, you know? But I was outside and I was complaining and bitching about everything and some guy, one of those biker guys. No, they're just kidding. They're so sober. And he said to me, well, if you're eating a shit sandwich, you made it, right? He was right, y'all. It's taken me 13 years to realize that guy, that nice guy, he was right. My decisions are my own today and suffering the consequences. There's nothing worse than having to make an amends to someone in AA. Now I just like, oh my gosh, please, Lord, let me be quiet. Let me not say what I want to say so that I don't have to find their phone number and call them and say sorry. Please, Lord, let me be quiet. When I'm quiet, I know that God is in the room because he wants me to shut up too. And I want to thank this meeting specifically. It's been a huge part of my recovery. I used to hate this meeting. I thought it was the Episcopalians of AA, that they thought they were better than everybody. And I used to think this meeting wasn't safe because of the type of people that came to it. And if you notice, you heard they talk about safety in the beginning. And if you look around, there's kind of a variety of people in here. It's a little bit about everybody in this area. And they worked really hard for that. And I want to say out loud that I see what Love and Service is doing and I appreciate it. And slowly I've been coming back to this meeting, and it's because of all the beautiful hard work that you've done around the steps, the traditions, and the concepts. And I want to thank you so much for giving me your time this evening and listening to me. I'm so grateful to be sober. It's a beautiful day to be sober.